Some friendships make you smile, but then there are friendships that make you stop and wonder, how did these two animals become this close? A sheep and a cat don't exactly sound like they have much in common. And yet, every single day, they look for each other, go everywhere together, and hardly ever want to be apart. What surprised me most was that sometimes, when I picked Toby up, he would still stretch his body toward Rita, as if being more than a few steps away from his best friend was simply too much. And if you knew how these two became best friends, I think you'd find their story just as unbelievable as I did. Honestly, I never planned on having a sheep. I'm not a farmer either. Rita originally belonged to my neighbor, but after he passed away, Rita needed a new home. We had never owned a sheep before and had absolutely no idea what we were doing. But in the end, we decided to say, all right, we'll take care of him. At first, we actually thought Rita was a girl. That's where the name Rita came from. But about 6 months later, during a shearing, we discovered a rather funny truth. Rita was actually a boy. By then, the name had already stuck, and nobody wanted to change it. So Rita, or more accurately, Mr. Rita, became a part of our family's everyday life. Once Rita was free to roam around the yard, he seemed to become a completely different animal. He started exploring everything, watching what we were doing, and becoming more and more friendly. I especially had a habit of going for runs along the trails behind our house. And one day, Rita decided to follow me. I honestly didn't think he would keep doing it. But the next day, he followed me again. And the day after that, he did it again. Before long, my runs almost always had a very unusual companion. Rita would run with me along the trails through the woods, then wander around the yard afterward as if he were personally supervising everything that was going on. Rita gradually became a huge part of our lives. So when my kids wanted a cat, I had no idea where that would lead. A neighbor had a litter of kittens, and that's how Toby became part of our family. From the moment he was little, Toby wasn't afraid of anything. He wanted to explore everything, run everywhere, and be involved in whatever everyone else was doing. It didn't take long before Toby started coming along on my walks too. But what I never expected was how interested Rita would be in the little kitten. At first, I thought Rita was simply curious, but then Toby started moving closer. Within about half an hour of meeting each other, Toby was rubbing against Rita's legs and following him around the yard as if they had known each other forever. I just stood there watching, completely confused by what I was seeing. From that day on, the two of them were almost inseparable. Every morning, Rita would usually wait by the door, and before long, Toby would show up. The little cat developed the cutest habit. He would climb onto Rita's back to get the perfect lookout point. Sometimes, he would even lie there and fall asleep. I've seen it happen so many times, and somehow, it still makes me laugh every single time. A huge sheep standing calmly in the middle of the yard, with a tiny cat sitting proudly on his back as if it were his own personal chair. Rita never seemed bothered by it. If anything, he seemed perfectly content to walk around with his little friend riding along. But my favorite part is still our walks through the woods. I walk ahead, Rita runs beside me, and Toby insists on coming along too. The three of us just head down the trails behind our house together. And no matter how far we go, those two always find a way to stay close to each other. Sometimes Toby runs off around a corner and disappears from sight. I'll usually joke, "Rita, where's Toby? Go find him." And strangely enough, Rita seems to understand. He'll turn his head toward the exact direction Toby just ran and then start following him. It's little moments like that that made me realize their friendship isn't simply about two animals happening to live in the same place. They genuinely pay attention to each other. They notice when the other one is gone, and they always seem to find their way back to each other. One time, I picked Toby up and held him in my arms, but he still stretched himself toward Rita. I couldn't help but laugh. He was already safe and comfortable in my arms, but the thing he cared about most was his friend standing just a few feet away. I think what I love most about their relationship is that it's nothing like what I ever imagined. I started this life simply because I wanted to give a sheep who needed a home somewhere to belong. Then I ended up with a little cat because that's what my kids wanted. But somehow, those two animals created an adventure I never could have planned. I think what I love most about their relationship is that it's nothing like what I ever imagined. I started this life simply because I wanted to give a sheep who needed a home somewhere to belong. Then I ended up with a little cat because that's what my kids wanted. But somehow, those two animals created an adventure I never could have planned. From our morning runs through the woods to all the little moments around the yard, Rita always wants to be there. Toby does too, and in the middle of everything we do, they always find a way to stay by each other's side. One sheep who once needed a home, and one little cat who simply wanted to explore the world, somehow found in each other their very best friend. Some people have watched my videos and said these scenes look like they were created with AI because they simply can't believe a sheep and a cat could become this close. But I always laugh when I read those comments, because I didn't have to create this story. This is simply our life. And maybe that's the most beautiful part of all. I never planned on having a sheep run with me every day, and I certainly never imagined he would become best friends with a cat. But now, every time I see Toby lying on Rita's back, or watch the two of them running beside me along the trail, I can't help but feel incredibly lucky. Because sometimes, the most beautiful friendships aren't the ones we go looking for. They simply happen, and then become a part of our lives that we can't imagine living without.